Hi, everybody. This is Josh Mansky with the Corn Belt Newsletter Podcast. I have the honor today of having one of my favorite guests on the podcast, the one and only Eric Snodgrass. Eric, glad to have you back.
Yeah, glad to be back, man. This is his first day of May, and although I already had someone send me the In Sync Justin Timberlake song,
Of
it's got to be.
course.
Oh gosh, we're already there. Like, it's going fast. So where did April go, man? It was just like here and gone in such a rapid fashion. So I'm glad we're moving into more spring and looking forward to summer.
Yeah, here we go. It's rock and roll time. It's been a little bit well, the planning progress, of course, tells us we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but in some areas it's been wet. So,
Yeah,
so it's always area dependent, as we know.
it is. Like I'm in one of the areas where. And I think in the last week we've had 4 or 5 inches of rain nearby. And I drove to work yesterday and just fields with just massive ponds in them around us. And it's the same down south, over in parts of Missouri. And I'm in Illinois, right? So down in southern Illinois, Missouri, and then you could drive, 6 hours into some parts of Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee, and there's nothing. It's bone dry. And so in Iowa, you're split in half, the western side versus eastern side, entirely different story on moisture this year. So yes, some folks are sitting on their hands going, how in the world are we 29% planted? And I look around, I don't see anything. And yeah, it's confusing.
Well, of course, this morning we're in a frost advisory up here.
I know. After what has been record warm April, right? I mean, we had such. In fact, let me show you this. I stole my screen last time. I'm gonna do it again if you
Let's
don't
do
mind.
it. Let's pop it up and get going.
Yeah, I was looking at this morning. Yeah, these were the April temperature ranks. And I mean, if you go across the Corn Belt, yes, we were cooler in the northwest part of the Corn Belt, but look at Iowa. Look, come in here to, Illinois. I mean, Ohio and Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, warmest on record. And now we're talking about like, let's see here. I think I had it up here, so I'll just bring it up in a new tab. But we've got this frost risk coming in, and this is all the area in the next 7 days. I'm worried about a frost, and yeah, it was pretty chilly this morning. And if we just do this, I've been working on this new tool. There we go. This is whoa, zoomed in way too much there, but this is right now where all the spots are that we've got, frost advisories, freeze warnings up in Wisconsin. So I mean, there's some cold air that's coming in here, in the near term. So what a you know what a way to throw the brakes on what had been just rapid accumulation of GDDs. And now it's just, I mean, I had parts of Iowa that in the best heat we had, you were getting 160 GDDs a week. And now I've got you getting 28 over the next 7 days. So it just like plateaued and is tanking very quickly. And yeah, it's not the way we want to go.
Well, that's quite a way to start the growing season off. Why don't we get into that, Eric? Tell us, what you're seeing here what have you seen over the last few months, where we're at now, and then kind of what you're looking for as we get into the heart of the growing season here in the next few months.
Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. I think this is a good way to think through this. Let's pull up. We saw that. Let's look at this. Like this is April on the whole from the Iowa State website. And it's really longer than this. It's not just April that we've seen this same pattern where this corridor has been lit up with a lot of severe weather. It's been lit up with a lot of just heavy rains. Whereas earlier in the month, the big Bermuda high sat over the southeast, keeping them so dry. The Western Plains, I mean, we've all seen what's happened to the winter wheat belt, just getting decimated by drought. But inside here, it's just been nonstop. And what's kind of interesting about it is if you go back, let me show you, this is kind of neat. If you go back to the beginning of March, that's what the drought monitor looked like. And then after March and April, it's now this. So the drought's gotten worse. Look at it before and after. It's gotten worse here and here, even though I've got a bunch of rain coming through this area soon.
Okay.
And it's completely off the map in this area after how wet it's been. And I mentioned that rain. There's a great website called, oops, so type it in right, Rough Sum from the Climate Prediction Center. And this is all the severe weather reports from this year. But look, this is April only.
Wow.
We've set records for new hail size in Illinois back in March. We've had, in fact, Illinois right now, if I show you this, we have had 108 tornadoes actually reported. There's actually more dots on the map than that. There's been one official tornado, I think, in Texas. So this is based on the actual official data. And there's a lot of reports, but it may have been along one tornado. Anyway, one of them just went over my house Monday. I mean, we had 500 yards away had a tornado hit, ripped up some of my tree branches and did some nasty damage to the neighbor's fence. And then just down the road a little ways, uprooted trees, pretty nasty go of it. But that's your focal point. It's all been here, and that area is not sharing very well. And so on either side of it, you've got very dry soil, like here and here. And we're just curious, if the drought monitor looks like this today, what's it going to look like as we get later into the season? Because you and I are in the ice states. We're right here, okay?
Yeah.
And every year, our biggest worry is, does something come up out of the south or out of the west or even out of the southeast and then close in on this area by the time we get to July? Now, I don't care if it's there in June. If you're growing corn and beans and you got some heat and dryness in June, as long as it rains in July, oh, who cares? You want it. But the worry here is about what this may look like. And I'll tell you something kind of fun we've been thinking about over the last couple of months. My colleague Matt Reardon and I developed this thing called the Elvis rule. So I always look at the Mid South. Yeah, and the Mid South, right in the middle of it is Graceland, which is about right there. And so
Yep.
what we do is, from Little Rock to Memphis to Nashville, we watch this particular area closely if you're in Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, or Iowa, because if drought survives this area through the month of May, well, we found that if it's dry there in May, it tends to be drier here in June to early July. And that's because even if the Bermuda High, which is, over here, comes back, the moisture comes through and it first gets taken by this area.
Interesting.
But what's crazy is, I think I've got this up here somewhere from a briefing I did this morning. Where did I put that dumb map? There it is. Like, here's our next 2 weeks, and we're going to completely soak this area. So that's south of where Elvis was, right? But still, there's a lot of moisture coming in. I would have been very worried if this whole area was super dry too, going into these later dates of May. So yeah, it's cold now for a lot of us, drier, so we should see some open windows. But at the same time, you'd rather have open windows on warm conditions. And given how wet we've been here, just kind of highlight this whole area again, how wet we've been in there. When we go dry, what's going to happen? You're going to put a crust over the top of the fields, which is going to be difficult for the new crop to break through. So there's some challenges, Josh. So I think that's just the tip of the iceberg of what those challenges are going to be.
Okay, so last year I remember vividly talking to you about when the South all of a sudden got wet.
Yes, yeah.
So, okay, Josh, the chances for us now being dry in the corn belts drop significantly. So I
Yeah.
look at that. I look at where the rain has come. Essentially, the South is dry again, or at least now it is. Uh, you're saying there's more moisture that's going to be on the way. Is that going to be something obviously that's going to influence things here in the coming weeks to make it to where the summer not going to be dry? Or I just remember you saying like that's
Yeah.
just, and of course to your point, that's exactly what happened. The
Yeah,
drought chances went away.
it did. Yeah. We're sitting on a bit of a fulcrum, like a pivot point here. And May is going to be the deciding factor with this. And the problem is, to that point, look at, where do I have it? There. Look at this May forecast. That's May. So the models are like, no, 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 drier here in May, wet down south, wet east, all east of us.
Yep.
And the reason they're doing this is they're putting a big trough there and a big ridge here. So the jet goes over the top, dives down, and makes the turn. And when it makes the turn, that's when it starts to get wet again. All right. So you see all of that, and you're going, all right, well, do I need to worry? No, we don't need to worry unless you're in Nebraska or parts of Kansas and South Dakota where there is no good soil moisture. But I mean, you get into this area and we've got soil moisture in spades. So we could go a long time without a rain and probably wouldn't be a bad thing if we went more than a couple of weeks without a good rain event. But take a look at what the models are doing. This is the month of May, but what if I take it to the end and show you mid-May to mid-June? The models are trying to wake all this back up and bring in precipitation. Now, we're all going, okay, well, I've seen models do that before and it didn't manifest itself, but we're always looking to see if it's a robust trend. And it's been doing this for the last week of forecasts predicting that mid-May to mid-June timeframe. So at this stage, I don't have anything out there other than the fear of what the drought monitor is to start ringing the bell and say, oh, summer's going to be summer. This could be bad. This could be a bad situation. But by the way, Josh, it could be a bad situation if the weather's good because of the commodity prices and where everything is right now. So there's more to worry about than just bad weather with this. So to get to your point though, I'll just say this. Last summer, let's go to this weatherbell.com. It's one of my favorite websites. If we go to the seasonal forecast here, but I show you what was released last May, that's May 1st. These were the predictions for precipitation in the, let's go to seasonal QPF. There we go. I mean, those were the predictions for June, July, August, and they were still very dry for the Western Corn Belt. And by the way, if you look at the the April forecast, it was dry. You go back to the March forecast. I mean, it was bone dry in that area for June, July, August, and beyond. And none of that happened. I mean, Iowa, you had your wet. I mean, North Central Iowa had like its wettest July on record. And that was all because of all that water that was in here getting advected into this area, which just means moved. And it stormed like mad. And instead, you had problems with fungicide and you had, or excuse me, not fungicide, but fungus, all sorts of fungal pressure on that year. So I say all of that, and I think it's important just to conclude at least this thought process. This is the newest forecast for June, July, August. And what do you see? Like it's just wet in a big area, and you're like, what about there? Ah, who cares? That's just one step on this side of drier than
And that's for
average.
most of our farming operations, Eric.
Yeah, of course, right? I circled the
Southern
spot. Yeah, but
Iowa.
it's I don't think we can truly just rest on this yet and say that this is exactly how this summer is going to be until we get done with May. So this upcoming month is critical.
So that May, obviously, that's the tipping point.
Yeah.
Um, so of course, if we're talking blocking and tackling in the basic fundamentals, where is the Bermuda High at currently? And
Oh,
how is that influencing what's going on currently?
yeah. So
You taught me well. That's I've got my basic fundamentals that we always want to look at here.
I'm glad. Let's go have a look at where this thing is. It's finally moved, which is a huge, well, not mid-Atlantic. I want the Atlantic, tropical Atlantic. Down here, there it is. We'll just use the whole North Atlantic. So if we go out and look for this thing, let's do 850. So all of March and most of April, you just had this big area right here with an H in it. Okay. And as we go forward in the forecast, I mean, there's the opposite. There's a low going through this area. And the Bermuda High is split. There's a piece over here, and there's a piece going, excuse me, that's a low, but a piece that's kind of swirling its way around the northern side of this. And we're looking at way out there. And the more it stays out here, the more this area stays wet. If you brought it over there, the more that area stays wet. If you brought it all the way here, the more this area, you see what it does? It just moves where that wet condition is going to be, the farther to the west you move it. So the thing right now is it's way out in the north, in the middle of the North Atlantic. And I think that's critical. Now, we need it to come back in July. That's really it. I don't care where it honestly is in June for us. It's just it's got to come back in the month of July to open everything up. So yes, it's moving around quite a bit right now. And we anticipated this because of how rapidly this El Nino is building. I mean, if you just have a look at these ocean temperatures, you know, back in February, we're still in La Nina. We didn't even spend but a month in neutral, and now we're way up here, fully into El Nino conditions. And we're all worried because down below the ocean surface, so this is the Pacific Ocean from South America all the way over to Indonesia and Australia. So this is going down. The temperatures down here are 5 to 8 degrees Celsius above average. And all that's going to surface, bringing in these chances of us having a cooler and possibly wetter summer in the Midwest if you look at the historical averages. So I know that jumped ahead, but yeah, the Bermuda High is going to play a big part of that.
Eric, you want to do just a little bit of our listeners are very intelligent, but I
Yeah,
want to do a little just basic on El Nino, La Nina, what that is and why that is
sure.
important.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's do that real quick. All right, global map. You kind of get a sense of the whole planet here. We live in the westerly wind belt. The winds go that direction. To our north, they come out of the east, and to our south, they come out of the east. Okay. Now we call these winds down here trade winds, and the reason they got their name is because people that left Europe right, would actually leave Europe on their ships, sail down the coast of Africa, and catch these winds out of the east to come over to discover what was then, we call these the West Indies. This was South America, and then the newly christened North America. Then they would basically turn around and catch the westerlies back. That's how I got their name trade wind, okay? The trade winds keep going though, all the way across the equatorial regions. They're everywhere. Now, when the trade winds are normal, we're in what we call INSO neutral, neither El Nino or La Nina. When these trade winds go really fast here, we call that La Nina. And what happens is a bunch of cold water starts to surface in this area because it gets pulled up from the ocean depths below. So whenever you look at the ocean temperature maps and you see cold or hot, that's the after effect. The trade
Mm-mm.
winds are what initiates all of it. Now, every once in a while, those trade winds they start to slow down, and we see them being met with what are called westerly wind bursts, which are rare. And what that does is it takes all the warm water that was here and shoves it back. And now all of a sudden everything warms up right there, and we call that El Nino. Now, why it matters is because somewhere between, the eastern side of Africa, Indonesia, and right out to about there are the biggest thunderstorms on the face of the earth. And the more you move these bigger thunderstorms from maybe here or from here, it doesn't matter, the momentum that leaves them and gets into our jet stream, it just changes position. So what it does is it affects how our troughs and ridges operate. And it's most pronounced in winter. It's by far most pronounced in winter. So El Niños peak in winter. They peak actually around Christmas, which is actually how they get their name. El Niño is the little boy, but it references Jesus because the peak of these events happens around Christmas. All right. So we can thank the Peruvian fishermen for that name. So anyway, that's how we got it. So what we're watching is this. Let's go back here. Let's blow this out to a global equatorial view, and now let's look at monthly sea surface temperatures. Now look, this is April right now, and then as we go forward, that's May, June, July, August, September.
There's that
So
red El Nino,
oh,
correct?
all of it right there. And we're worried because some of these ocean temperatures are up here close to 4 degrees above average. And the biggest El Nino we've ever had was about 3 to maybe 3.5 degrees above average in terms of the strongest. So this could be one of the strongest in history, and that's what we're concerned about.
Okay, so why does that concern you? What will that influence
Yeah, well,
in the summer?
yeah, so let's do this. Let's leave it on this equatorial view, but let's look at summer precipitation, July, August, September. So midsummer to late summer tends to produce big drought events in Indonesia. So if you're in canola, if you're in certain seed oils, you have to care about that. That's huge. We tend to hit the winter crops in Australia hard with drought. So they grow a lot of winter wheat, they grow barley, they grow a lot of winter crops that do compete with the US. That's huge. India, which remember has this monsoonal circulation, which can sometimes put down between 100 and 500 inches of rain in summer, which they need. It's like the lifeblood of their economy
Wow.
for weather. They're expected to be drier, and that's 1.5 billion people that are going to be on the drier side of average. We tend to see drier conditions up here in the North China Plain, the Manchurian Plain, but look across the United States. It tends to give us a stormy pattern here, very hot and dry down south in the southern parts of the down the Cotton Belt. Which, by the way, right now I believe oh shoot, let's go look it up. This is important to know. If we come over to ag and droughts, row crops, 100% of peanut production, a lot of that's in Georgia, is in drought. Cotton production, 98%. So I mean, this would be bad
Wow.
if this forecast came in. So let me show you a couple things here. Big El Nino events recently, 23, 15, 97, 82, and 72. They tended to have this corridor in through here that was wet, tend to be a bit drier there, which does include some of Iowa and Minnesota. Very dry south, but it's the temperature pattern that I have to pay attention to. Because if you're drier but cooler in Iowa, you'll destroy yield records. Like the crop doesn't care about the drought as much as it does about the heat. And they're suggesting that the heat's going to be here and down in the southern plains. And that's the thing I'm watching out for. That could be what the summer pattern looks like. And so I tell folks like, well, to be honest, if you're a corn and soybean farmer here, this is a bit of a risk off forecast. And that's a disaster. I hate to say it. It's a
Yeah,
disaster because of what it could do to crop prices, which affects the entire ag economy. We really need a problem somewhere. And I live in Illinois, so we hope that the problem is in Iowa or Indiana, right? You live in Iowa, so you hope it's in Nebraska or Illinois. That's just how it all works. We
right.
all kind of secretly wish there was a problem in Brazil, but we didn't have one of those this year.
This is true. Okay, Eric. So then I don't want to jump too far ahead or anything like that, but from what you're telling me at the moment,
Yeah.
you're not necessarily seeing, of course, this always can change, we know, but
Oh yeah.
you're not necessarily seeing a problem area within the Corn Belt for this coming growing season at the moment with the way things are lining up.
Yeah, not the Corn Belt proper. I mean, I'm worried about Nebraska and South Dakota.
Right.
And I love our brothers and sisters out there that are farming, but they have to hate the fact that there's no soil moisture problems in Indiana, Illinois, and Iowa right now. Because we can carry deficits in this part of the country that may happen in that part of the country. And it's terrible. I don't want this in Nebraska at all. But so I say all of that, Josh, but at the same time, when do I really know what's going to happen? I'll know what's going to happen when we get to about, if I got rid of this date and said it was June 15th,
Okay.
that's the date. Because at that time, I will want to know if this goes over colder. And if all of that goes over colder, I don't care what El Nino's doing. A cold risk there sends the jet to the south of it. We tend to ridge out somewhere centered on St. Louis, and that's a problem. And that can happen El Nino or La Nina. It doesn't matter. It's just midsummer. We got to watch this area.
So that
Now,
Gulf of Alaska, we had Bermuda High. Help me out again.
yep,
What's that called over there by Alaska, southern
yeah, just call it the Gulf of Alaska.
Gulf of
That's
Alaska? So
yeah,
you're looking for that. If that is cool,
yep,
okay.
that's cool. If that's cool, the temperatures here go way up. If this is instead hot, the temperatures here go way up and they go down in the Midwest.
Okay.
And if this is hot and this is hot, it's like a double whammy effect on this. So we're thinking about it. I think I had these graphics up. Yeah. Every year when this is nice and hot and that is hot, we tend to be cooler in the central United States. That's a correlation coefficient with those two regions.
Okay. So Eric, and what influences that essentially the Pacific Ocean, Gulf
Yeah.
of Alaska? What is going to influence that to be warm?
Yeah. So what would influence this to be warm is if we can get more and more of May and June to put big ridges of high pressure here, or maybe along the coast like it is right now. So that drives the jet over the top, which clears out the clouds, calms down the winds, and doesn't allow for the colder water to come up to the surface. Because once you get into summer, if there's already cold water established here by like mid to late June, then there's a sensible heat relationship in the atmosphere. It's like, oh, it's colder there. Let's run the jet stream to the south of it. And if it, we had a guy named Carl Gustav Rossby that taught us the length of these waves, okay, is such that they're about one wavelength for the whole United States. So if it dips there, it's going to run up here. And then we are hot and dry. Versus if this is hot, the jet goes over the top and dives into the Great Lakes. We get flow out of the northwest in summer, so it's cool and stormy. And we tend to have those being our best years because underneath all this, so if you can imagine, this is 6 miles above our heads. Underneath it, the Bermuda High likes to live right there and it pumps in the moisture to meet it. And that's why it storms in the Midwest. So that's it. That's what we're watching. The most important thing come late June is what these ocean temperatures are doing. And you saw it a moment ago. Like I'll go back to it. The models, like they have that for July. That's not enough cold water.
Mm.
So I mean, because of that, they're all going after, these wetter conditions across a big section of the Midwest, May,
Because
June, July, and beyond.
it's too cool there.
Yeah. Well,
So,
too cool in the Midwest, too hot in the Pacific.
okay. So that really, of all the things we've mentioned thus far, that is your kind of your shining star in a way. Is that what you're
Yeah. It is, but it's not. I gotta wait. What do we? I have to wait 45 more days. It's the
saying?
next 45 days. And I was telling a group this last week. What's kind of sad with all of it is someone asked, "Well, when are you gonna know? Like, when are you gonna know what is gonna happen?" I said, "I will know a day or two before you know." Because the moment I know, I'm going to tell everybody, we're all going to be looking at it.
We
And
will.
yeah, I don't secretly know months in advance and put some big position in the markets. If I did, I mean, I wouldn't live here, something, and I take that back. I love the Midwest, but I just mean, it would be a different, I'd have a different life. I wouldn't have spent all last night working on my 16-year-old Audi trying to get the dumb window to roll up properly. Okay, that's where we would be, right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's a lot to digest there, Eric. I'm trying to think of um yeah that this I guess we can jump around a little bit here. That Elvis rule I have in your weekly
Yeah.
reports. I have seen that.
Yeah.
You said that did you just come up with this not that long ago?
We did. So again,
I really find that kind of fun.
so for the last 4 or 5 years, I've been working. I have a colleague. His name's Matt Reardon, and we just talk about mid-south rain, mid-south rain, mid-south rain as an early indicator for June and the very beginning of July. Drought and heat stress right here. And so we go on and on and on about it. And one morning, like about a month ago, Matt shows up in our office and he's like, I came up with a name for this thing. We're just going to call it the Elvis rule. Now, he's a huge Elvis fan. He's only 30, but he's a huge Elvis fan. And he's like, yeah, it's always centered on Graceland. And by the way, what did Graceland get the other day? I'll show it to you real quick. If we go to some of my tools here, this is how much rain. Let's take off those reports so it's a little clearer here. Just in the last 3 days, sorry, zoomed out. Look at all the rain that just came into this part of, we just soaked it with 5 or 6 inches of rain in the last 3 days alone.
Wow.
So that Elvis rule is starting to change where it was for most of spring. And remember, we always tell folks the Elvis rule only applies when you're in the last week of May. It's like what happened up until the last week of May. That's what you're watching it up to. And
Okay.
right now, we just finished the last week of April and soaked that region. So if it gets hit again, and they got moisture, then that'll be the way of it.
So that'll tell us so a month from now, roughly,
Yeah,
that'll be signaling what we're going to be experiencing in the Midwest.
right. I think that's one of the key signals. So
Okay.
Elvis first, then you go off to the Gulf of Alaska. And both of those things are related to the Bermuda High. It's all one massive connected system. So yeah,
I think that's an important point there, uh, Eric, is
yeah,
those fundamentals, like because there's just so much that goes into this. Obviously, weather's complicated, as we know, but to have a couple of basic fundamentals that people can look for
yeah,
and kind of give a signal of like, okay, this is. I mean, you pointed it out beautifully, like that Gulf of Alaska,
yeah,
and that's going to really influence what's going to be happening, and of course, the Elvis rule as well.
yeah. I think, uh, you know, so if you're curious, the correlation coefficient here is
Yeah,
point.
explain that a little bit more.
Yeah. So when we correlate what happens here, it's technically a negative point 0.6. So when this is cold, the negative correlation means this is hot. Down here, it's negative zero point 0.4. And then, so those are our two strongest summer correlation areas with what goes on in the Midwestern United States. Yeah.
Okay, explain those numbers a little bit. Negative 0.6 and negative 0.4.
Oh, sure.
Is that
Uh,
something we can see or find or
I can graph. Let's just try this examples. There's some great websites out there that'll help me see this. So I don't, I can, well, what can I do? Can I do this quickly for you?
if not,
Uh,
no big deal. I just was curious on that point because those are important numbers that you just pulled up there and it.
Yeah, they are. So I mean, just to do this real quick, let's open this image in a new tab. There we go. So what I'm saying here is like if you have a high positive correlation, right? You know what this means, right? This means one variable like temperature versus, I'll put an O for ocean temperature. So if they're highly correlated, as the ocean temperature goes up, the air temperature goes up, right? That's how it'd be. We're a little better than this, so it's a bit more of a scatter. It's not perfect. So this is zero point 0.3. We're at zero point 0.6, so we're somewhere in between these two, which means you can use the relationship a bit more robustly. But what we did here is we go back and we do stuff like this. One of my favorite sites, Climate at a Glance, if I come in here and let's set this to region first. Let's do region time series. And I'll just choose, let's go down here. Let's go with the primary corn and soybean belt. Let's just use that since that's where you and I are. And if we go, all right, what about the 4 months of June to September? And we look at the precipitation. We'll look at all of the data, but I'll display a trend on this from, I don't know, let's go 1970 to present. Okay, so yeah, there's not much of a trend. Well, what we'll do is we'll come in here and say, well, let's look at these really wet years versus the dry years. And then we'll correlate that summer precipitation pattern against against ocean temperatures. So I'll pull all these years off and make correlation maps to see them, and it gives you those numbers. But it's like zero point 0.6, and zero point 0.4. So it's good enough that you can use it as a predictor. We tend to not use anything between negative zero point 0.3 and negative and positive zero point 0.3. That's too small of a correlation to use
Okay.
reliably. Oh, and by the way, you remember I showed you this earlier with how strong the drought is here. These correlations are negative zero point 0.8. So I mean, it's not a guarantee, but it's a very, very high probability that you're going to have very dry conditions here. Now, remember, we were focusing a lot on temperature in that discussion. So cold one place, hot the other. You can only use El Nino to explain 9% of the precipitation variance in Iowa and Illinois. So precipitation's trickier, but like I said, the biggest
Interesting.
driver on yield is temperature. In fact, I'm gonna show you this. Sit tight here. I'm gonna go over to my other screen. I'm gonna find this real quick.
We love all the charts you pull up and you make it look so easy.
I'm if you had some idea of how much time I have to sit here and build all these things,
I
it's
believe it.
so let me see here. I have a there. Where do I put? Here it is. Here it is. So I recently yeah, you can see those graphics now,
Yep.
right? So I recently built a model that helps me understand corn yield as a function of weather variables. So I didn't look at anything else, just weather variables to try to explain some of the year-to-year variance in corn yield. And so I only chose what we call the 10 states that are in the Corn Belt. And I did 171 different combinations of weather variables like number of dry days, number of wet, and so on. It just goes on and on and on and on. And you know what it picked as the top 6 features that control corn yield? All of the top 3 were maximum temperature during silking, maximum temperature in August, and maximum temperature in July. So interesting enough, number 1 was max temp during silking. Number 2 was max temperature in August. Number 3 was max temperature in July. And then below that, the next one was precipitation during silking, precipitation total in June, which that's interesting. You got to talk about that one. And then anomalies in June. And all these bottom 2 graphs show is it helps if you are a little bit drier in June, okay? And if you are wet during silking and cool during silking, when you get above, see that little kink right there?
Yep.
That kink is 97 degrees Fahrenheit. The moment you get above 97, it drops off dramatically.
Wow.
And this temperature anomaly in August is primarily dependent on overnight low temperatures being less than 74 degrees Fahrenheit. So see, this is T-max, T-min. We're looking at all of it. So we got to be cool. I mean, that's just the thing. And I use this to
That
build
is
this.
a great, Eric. That is so informative. My goodness.
Good.
I don't know any of us. I certainly wouldn't have. I would have had precipitation as at least one of the 3.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have thought necessarily temperature would have been that. I mean, we know it's obviously influential, of course, but you would have thought that precip would have been one of the top 3 there.
I think the reason why it's becoming less is that over the last 20 years, we've built more drought tolerant crop. So it seems to be we hit it harder with yield. So I took that model and I built this on our website. It's my yield tracker. It's a beta version, but we're going to give it a shot. Tell me what town you're in again.
I'm in Algona, Algona, Iowa. There you go.
Algona, Iowa. So I'm going to run, let's go back. Okay, let's go to a bad year. Let's go to 12. Okay.
Yep.
So when we run 2012 for Algona, The county based off of USDA was 16 bushel off of trend. And it kind of looks as to the reason why. So, what happened in each month that drove it down overall? And my prediction would have been somewhere in this area. But if you look, we went really dry in 2012, and we had a lot of days where the peak temperatures during grain fill were way up, way in the 90s, way hotter. I mean, it's even worse if I take you back to where I'm from. I live in this town called Mahomet, Illinois. It's in Champaign County. In 2012, look, we were
Wow.
71 bushel off trend. And the reason for that, and by the way, each month kind of shows you what was going on. Our biggest reason was we were touching like a low hundreds several days under no precipitation. But like you go to a year like 2023, there we go. 2023, 11.6 bushel above average in Mahomet. And what's interesting was, look at the precip. We were way drier we were dry in 2023. Why did we have good yield? We had good yield because it rained around the 4th of July. It rained on August the 6th. Okay, got 2 points of rain. And look at these temperatures. It just rarely, if ever, got above the historical averages. And because it just didn't get hot, we had great yields out of that. And by the way, we spent the first 50 days after we planted that crop with almost no rain at all. So that's the key. It's these temperatures that seem to make the difference with all of it. And so we went ahead and built a model and tossed this out on our website to kind of, hey, give it a shot, play around with it. It's trying to predict the USDA number for your county. So it's not your field. It's
Mhm.
like, all right, what would the USDA say, for your county? But I mean, if I was growing 250 bushel of corn, I'd say, hey, I'm almost at 262, if I added that plus on there. So that's what we're doing with it.
That is an awesome tool, Eric. That is
Yeah,
wow.
we just built one for soybeans too. I'm going to release it later on today. So,
Oh, you have no idea I was going to be going into that. I was like,
yeah,
okay, here's a question for you then. You had your six on your chart there for corn. Do you have that for soybeans as well, or do you not have that yet?
I don't have it yet. I got to make that
Okay.
chart. I just finished the model last night, but I got the output from it. And in a nutshell, reading through all of the data that it came up with, the soybean side of it. I wonder if I can just pull this up. What did I call it? Hang on, let's just see here. Soy yield tracker. There it is. I haven't put it up on the website yet.
Hey guys,
But
this is we're getting to look at this first, everybody.
yeah, it's brand new. So, we were 1.3 bushel off last year. Look when it went off. August and September. We were above average April, May, June, July, dropped in August and September. And the model says the most important thing is August precipitation. So soybeans, it's August precipitation and June heat. But that
Okay.
June heat's probably more correlated with the solstice. But you can beat on soybeans with heat in June, and they love it. The model, it tends to love it. We lost it last year because right about in August, it just stopped raining where we were.
So you're saying a little bit more critical. I mean, moisture is always critical, but you're
Yeah,
saying a little bit more critical for
for
soybeans at
soybeans.
that
Yep.
time with the moisture
Yep.
side of things. That makes
Soybeans, August, rain, huge. Yeah.
Yep,
Yep.
got to have that for green fill. Yeah. Yep, that makes perfect sense. Wow.
Kind of
Eric,
neat.
you go ahead.
No, I was just saying it's really neat. We even tell it to write out why the yields were down. So it said the yield drag was, if you look in here, we had high precipitation. Oh, this should say high precipitation variability. So I told you I'm still working on it. I'll get that fixed. High precipitation variability was what was going on in R3 through R6, and that dropped it a little bit. High temperatures in September. Yeah, those are the kind of things. So I'm still working on those nuances, but we'll get the AI to kick that out properly so that it diagnoses the
Let's have
situation.
just a little bit of fun with this. Go back to your corn tracker, Eric, the one that you've got up at the moment, and
Yeah.
go to a really, really wet year, like going 93 here in North
Oh,
Central.
sure. I'll go
That'd be
back
kind
to,
of interesting, I think, for people to look at because we did a really dry year. Let's do something really wet.
yeah, let's go back to 1993. Yeah, 67 bushel off. The main drags were below normal temperatures during the growing season and much above normal precipitation. You were 13.2 inches above average, which dropped you another 6.8 bushel off of average. So, like, if this is where you would have started, June and July, which were, I mean, look how wet it was. There's your graph, right? Just way up here above it. In fact, it goes off my chart. I didn't even realize that. I usually set the max to be just 10 inches above your average, and you were way over that by the time the growing season ended. So yeah,
Obviously,
it
obviously,
captures those features.
our family was, a lot of the part of the business is the drainage business, and Dad just, and a lot of people around here talk about 93 as it just the faucet did not stop.
Didn't quit.
It
No.
just did not quit.
By the way, you want to know why? Let's do this real
That'd be
quick.
kind of fun. Let's look at that.
I'm gonna go to a map. I'm just gonna find, okay, we're just gonna use this map, okay? In fact, oh, I can't take tornadoes off, but just look at the map. In 1993, a big area of high pressure built into Montana, Alberta, Saskatchewan, and the Bermuda High slid all the way over to like Atlanta. So you had high pressure giving us flow like this on one side. You had high pressure over here giving you flow like that on the other. And so what happened was right in the middle, right through there, you had flow coming from the Gulf that was hot, humid, and unstable, flow coming from Canada, which was dry. And these two air masses just ran along one another for weeks, June and July, right there. So what happens is one undercut the boundary, the other ran over the boundary, and where they hit is where we had all the moisture. So that was two areas of high pressure that created this nonstop rain event. I mean, 1993, we joked about you guys. We called you the sixth Great Lake in Iowa. And when I was only 13, but I left home. We went and sandbagged up on the Mississippi near the Quad Cities, sandbagged down in St. Louis. Like it was and I'll tell you a funny story about it since you're in this business. But that particular year, Anheuser-Busch they stopped canning beer for a little while. And because so many people were out working, they started to can water and drop it off everywhere. And so you got to imagine 13-year-old Eric, all of a sudden the big Anheuser-Busch truck shows up. We're all sandbagging. It's just handing out cold six packs of water in their beer cans. And I,
Oh
I
my gosh.
I took like five of those things home. I'm like, I'm gonna go show all my friends, like, and it's just water. I still have one at home
You
in my
really?
garage.
Oh, that's
Yes,
cool.
sitting
Oh,
in
that
their
is neat.
garage. But yeah, that was, I mean, 93 is 93 and 19. Those are the years.
Yeah. Eric, why don't you pull your website back up?
Yeah.
People really need to look at this. This is a great tool for us. It's something I look at every single morning. I've got my markets pulled up, of course, and then I've got the Ag WX, the weather desk. That's a great term for it.
Yeah, we're trying to figure.
Why don't you run through a little bit of the basics of it, and then there is a subscription model which you want to talk about getting a bang for your buck. That is the biggest no-brainer I think I've seen in agriculture as of late.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well,
Just all the value you bring.
so here it is in a nutshell. You land on the page, we got radar, we got your current conditions if you set up a location in our system. We usually have something that just talks about, hey, a quick narrative on what's going on. And then we just have a couple of our favorite graphics. So these are the ones people like to look at a lot. So they want to see current hazards, next 7-day precipitation anomaly, how much rain it fell recently, and then what some of our National Weather Service are predicting. All right. I built a version of this website in the early 2000s and it just had stacked maps. And people love this for some reason. I don't know why. I don't like it anymore, but they love to scroll through all these maps. We
I
have
love
that.
it. I'll be
Yeah,
guilty.
it's kind of fun just to scroll through them. But we also package this in a much better way. So if you're like, I want to come in here and see an individual model, like show me the European model, the ensemble version for the United States on the chance of staying under a half inch of rainfall. And you can forecast it out. So over the next 10 days, I mean, there's some windows in there, right? I mean, that's a 50 to 80 to 90% chance of staying under a half inch. We're gonna open this up. But at the same time, like, well, I need to know if it's going to be cold. Well, you can go look at the temperature anomalies and see the waves of cooler air coming through. So we've got all the models. We have your high resolution models. So if you're in the middle of a severe weather event, you can look out there and see the high resolution models go through, or you can watch it in real time if we go over to our radar tab and you have this big national presentation. But if you want to drill into your own radar, click on high res radar. Now you can see all of them. I don't know, there's some storms down here, down south, and it'll pull up the
Oh,
live
that's
local
awesome.
radar at high resolution. And if there are watches and warnings, they show up there as well. So we have all of that.
I love that part of it. If I can just mention that, I have fought tooth and nail to try to find a good radar system to look at, and this is by far and away the best.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. Under local weather, we also, you can put in whatever location you want, and we'll give you as much data as you can take. So there's a simple presentation of what we're doing now over the next 7 days, plus some stats. So like I said, we got a lot of water here. We're an inch, 1.85 inches above average in where I live, but almost all of that's come in April. Like we were bone dry January, February, March. It's all been coming lately. We're talking cooler weather for us, 5.1 degrees cooler than average. You can see a lot of stuff like, oh, I just need to see it by hour. Well, we've got
Yep.
all the hourly stuff in there. We've got under our forecast graphics, I love this. Over the next 15 days, you can look at 8 different models to see when they're all producing precipitation. And so what I do with this, I'm like, well, let's say I got some event on Tuesday. Well, the European model has precipitation, the GFS has precipitation. This other model called GraphCast, that's an AI model. It's got Monday into Tuesday. See what we're doing? We're like stacking them up and seeing that to kind of figure out when and where.
That's kind of important this time of year for us.
Oh, it's so important.
Are
And
we
when
going to
they
have a window to get
agree,
stuff in or not? Yep.
exactly. It's when they all agree that there's good info there. Real quick, under the forecast advanced, I've got wind, humidity, and all that stuff, but we've also put on here seasonal forecasts. So I tell you what, man, let's do this for you because nobody cares about where I live. Let's go to Algona. There we go. So let's look at your seasonal forecast. Now look, over the next 6 weeks, we're cooler to start May, warmer to finish May. See that? That'd be fantastic. We are wet. We were wetter earlier this week because remember this, we're finishing up the current week. We're drier, and then near normal going out farther. But if you look at your monthly temperatures, I mean, right now, May through September, I've got more above average temperatures for you. And then if you come down and look at it this way, I've got May and June above average, July maybe a little bit drier, but not too much to worry about there. Oh, you know what? They're updating this. That's why we're missing some of the dots here because it's May 1st. We're getting all the new data in right as we speak. I've also got like your year-to-date temperatures, your year-to-date precipitation, plus the past 5 years, and then solar. If like you're like, I need to see how much sunshine's been. And then I'm pretty pumped about this new one here. We just built this on Monday. This is our spray decision. So you kind of have a next 7 days, go, no go, why, what are the limiting factors? Is it wind? Is it inversions? We even have it broken down into a table.
Man, Eric. Wow.
Yeah, we're just trying to get all the information out. And we also have this one. This is huge. So leaf wetness. This takes a little bit of time to hit my API, but there you go. What we track is how long the leaf surface is staying wet for crops. And 2026 has been quite wet. But in 2025, by June 3rd, that's the dash line here. You were relatively dry in spring. By August, it was second wettest. And that was the increase in disease pressure you saw last year. So we're looking a lot at that. Real quick, the end of it, we've got just a bunch of fun other things to play around with. And then our Pro Tools. And this is where we're really having a good time here. We got a GDD tool. You can put it any location, get GDDs plus historical records. So by the way, if you're like, well, what happened in 2006? Well, you can click on this and go back to seeing all those old years if you want. Other fun tools on this. We got belt wide stats. So corn belt's going to show up first, but we've got cotton belt, soybean, winter wheat, spring wheat. So right now over the next week, most of the corn belt, only 63% normal precip, and most of that's here. And then next week, 85%, but a lot of that's coming in the upper Midwest. You can look at any of these you want, and we even track it throughout the year down at the bottom, so you can compare it to other years. Real quick, last couple of ones. For guys that are growing wheat, we put in a vernalization tool. Like, did you get cold enough over winter to get your crop to get to the finish line? We also made one under Pro Tools, our Freeze Pro tool. So, hey, we should look at this for you.
Yes, let's do that today.
Yeah, Algona. So I tell you what, I'm going to predict a frost, not a freeze. And so if you look, there was the cold morning this morning. Here's Saturday morning. But on May 6th, 7th, and 8th, I've got some cooler weather for you. So
Wow.
these probabilities are May 2nd, 98% chance, right there, of going over cooler. But then again, 6th, 7th, and 8th are cooler as well. And I even put on here your historical odds of having a frost. So if you're curious, your median spring last, excuse me, your median date for the last spring frost was actually April 26th. So we're past that now. And your first fall frost on average is around October 11th. But we even put a little analysis at the bottom to help folks understand what it is. We looked at the yield tracker already. We looked at MRS Pro. I'm super pumped about this. This is if you get into the Pro and you put a bunch of different locations in that you save, we'll
Yeah.
map out all your locations. So
Okay.
some farmers are like spread out all over a huge geography. You'll now be able to see, um, all those different spots. For me right now, I just have where I live, my parents live, my grandma lives, my sister lives, and where we like to vacation. Like I'm still building my own. But
Nice.
you can look at anything from forecast data to GDDs if you want. Like, look at this. This is crazy. The forecast of our GDDs over the next 7 days, where I live, is 36 off of normal
Normal. Okay. Okay.
because yeah, because of how cool it's going to be. But we're going to increase the ability for people to put up to, I think, 40 different locations in this, so they can kind of keep a close eye on all of those things.
Eric,
And
quick question
yeah,
on that. So if you go to the or the precipitation, so let's say we had a big rain last night, how long do you have to wait for that to update? Will that update instantaneously? Does it 6 hours,
yeah,
12, 24?
I update it once an hour based on the what's called the MRMS data. It's a product, and maybe it's a little bit easier to show it to you here. So this is where I think that's really kind of easy to see. So let me take everything off and just show you. There's the last 72 hours. Now,
Okay.
what you have to know about this product is it goes through pretty strict quality control. So it may be raining at your house, and it's showing up zero on the map because they have a minimum of a 2 hour quality control put on top of it. So it'll be always 2 hours later, and they're still refining it for up to a day to make sure they got your exact precipitation. But over the longer term, it's great. I mean, just look at this. If I put in April 1st till now, it takes a minute to hit all. I have just this huge database that this is pulling from. This is it's almost done loading here. This is
I was gonna say you're gonna be able to overlay that with the drought monitor perfectly and just see it.
yeah, that's right there. Like look how wet this has all been. And I've got places in Nebraska that since April 1st have picked up under an inch, whereas Missouri's picked up over a foot. And you
Wow.
can zoom in on this too. You can get real close and see, whatever area you want. Oh, I forgot. I even made it so that you can get a report out of it.
No kidding.
So if you wanted to be able to see like every day what the precipitation was, and if there were any severe weather reports around that place you dropped a pin, it'll tell you what they were. So I've got guys that use this for hail. They're like, man, I just need to know, where I've had hail. And if you go look at this, is nuts. Since April 1st, this is going to make a map of everywhere that we've had hail.
Oh
And
my.
it is just like nearer to you. Like I'll just pick, oh, how about over here?
Yes, I've got a very good friend of mine who lives over in that area, and they had windows broken out and
Oh yeah. I
dents
mean,
like you wouldn't believe to vehicles. Yep.
so we've measured in this little strip 3 to 4 inch hailstones. And if I drop a pin in there and then expand it, you can actually get a report of when and where that hail fell and how close to you it was and on the dates. So a lot of folks have been using this to assess and understand. And you can even download it if you want. So if you need a report to take to your insurance adjuster, you can do that. And by the way, all of the data that's in here, this is all government data, which is what they would use anyway. It's
Right.
all based off of those best resources. So,
So Eric, on this tool specifically, I could
mhm.
take from the start of the growing season to the end directly on my farm location or that farm wherever it's located, and
Yeah.
I'd be able to see how much precipitation I received throughout the growing season for that farm.
Yep, you have multiple ways that you can do it here, which is a little slower because it's going to load the whole country.
Okay.
Or if you can just went over to the local weather. Don't forget, you do have the option of dropping a exact pin over where you are, or you can come over here to this map and move the pin around and put it in different places. So you can choose any of that, or you can go over to that bigger tool there. But let's go back to this. So yeah, if you went in here and put in like the exact location, like if you loaded it as one of your spots,
Yep.
East 40, then
Yep.
it will give you, all of that stuff. I'm just going to go back to it. You can go look at the historical year-to-date precip, and you've got it all right there. Or your third option is under the Pro Tools, go to GDD Pro, and you've put in your location. And let's say, well, I didn't plant this crop until 422. And now what it's going to do is it's going to give you the precipitation and temperature since 422. So
Wow.
you have the entire time period you care about. Now, here's the thing, Josh. There's a lot of clicking around. I don't know how to make it, with all this data, I don't know how to make it less clicky around, but we find folks get in here and have a good time messing around with this stuff.
Oh, it's you know, when you're involved in agriculture, weather is obviously your number one. And I just think all the different tools that you offer in here
I got to show you one more
are so
thing.
helpful. Please do. Please do.
I'm trying to make this. Now, this is super nerd,
This is
but
Snodgrass par excellence here.
yeah, so we have a guy that's over in Eastern Iowa. His name's Peter Allen, good friend of mine. He works for us. He's one of our big managers in the company. And he's doing this big trial at several locations in Eastern Iowa. He's like, man, I've got all these 70-inch TVs at every one of my branches. And when we're not using them, I'd love to just show weather data. And I'm like, Peter, done. So we built this thing where over the locations he's concerned about, you can see, all of the weather data, including radar, temperature precip, soil temperatures. And so this looks amazing on a 70-inch screen.
That
And
look
then you
cool.
just walk in, and it acts like a carousel going between all of the different locations that he's got over here in Eastern Iowa. And so I've had a couple of farmers reach out, and they're like, "Man, I'd kind of like to have just on my big screen in the shed." I'm like, "Well, hey, we'll build it, man. It's we'll get it done."
I just was thinking about that. That'd be kind of cool to have as you come into an office and you just have your locations that are,
Yeah,
in the operation. And yeah, that'd be awesome. Eric, I was taking notes as we are going here. To summarize, the Elvis rule,
yeah.
Gulf of Alaska, Bermuda High, between now and June 15th. That's where we're at. We're looking at everything as to summarize.
That's going to be the key time period. We need to see what spring undoes and does, and then assess where summer's going to go. By the way, by then, I see over your shoulder you've got a picture of Eisenhower. There's a movie coming out about the D-Day, the Normandy invasion forecast that went out from James Stagg. Have you ever heard of that story?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, tell people just a little bit about that. I think they'd find that interesting.
Oh, so when they had to time the Normandy invasion, it needed to be such that we had good cloud cover and that we had the right tidal conditions to be able to get on the beach as fast as possible and execute. So there's only certain times of the month that that could be done. And one of the days that they were supposed to go was on June 5th. And on June 5th, this guy by the name of James Stagg, he was in the RAF, so the Royal Air Force, and he was a direct report to Eisenhower at that point. And he basically comes in and says, look, we cannot go on June the 5th. You're going to be fighting the wind, the waves, the weather, and the Germans. The best day is to go the next day when high pressure tries to come in, but we still have the cloud cover. The tide will still be right. And what I love about this whole thing, and I hope the movie does a good job with this, I'm excited to see the movie, but Eisenhower listened to the advisors and executed a decision. Like it wasn't like, oh, let's solve this by committee. He's like, nope, say this. We're going to execute on this decision and we're going to go. And yeah, there was a lot of contention. There was a lot of men's lives at stake here. But I love it that good information was collected and a good decision was executed. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the guy's name was James Stagg. Like I'm just a fraction of the meteorologist that guy was because I have the crutch of everything you just watched me do, man. I can go out to the internet if I can find anything. That dude was doing all this with like paper reports, wired in reports from ships, very, very limited information, but he understood the system. Like that's the kind of dude that could go outside and look at the clouds and be like, yeah, this is your forecast for the next 5 days. And I'd be like, I can't do that anymore, man. I don't look outside enough, but man, I can't wait for that movie to come out. I'm also a huge World War II nut. I love reading about it and studying it. I guess I'm that point in my, middle-aged white guy lifestyle, right? I'm like, yeah, we'll learn about World War II. You got your choices, right? It's the Romans, or Civil War or World War II, and I guess I picked World War II.
As a person who is a historian, that's what I studied in college. It's that is a subject that is has no end. So
Oh,
you're a fun ride with all of that.
oh
But
yeah.
but the importance of forecasters to this day, as think about how that changed world history
Oh yeah.
by somebody forecasting. But I do think there's it's the fundamentals. I'm sure there's basic fundamentals of meteorology that he was able to utilize
Yep.
and compute the data,
Yep.
obviously in a way that was really beneficial for all of us that followed. No different than what you're doing on the side for us, Eric, when it comes to
Well,
agriculture.
he asked me actually the same questions you asked at the beginning. Your concern was Bermuda High. Almost all of his predictions were based on pressure measurements. And that's at the core of all of this.
Right? The
If you
fundamentals.
noticed, everything we talked about today ultimately revolves around high pressure placement. I'm like, well, if the ocean temperature is going to change, why? Because there's not high pressure in the Gulf of Alaska. If there is, it's hot. If there isn't, it's unsettled and cool. If the Bermuda High is shifting, And so I always just tell folks, I mean, to be honest with you, every bit of fun weather that we watch, like all the storm chasers and every single weather system that comes through and is high impact. I've been kind of using this phrase now for several months, but I just say this, all of the fun weather bows a knee to high pressure. Like that's it. It's all controlled by the big highs. And so we got to watch where they go. And that's why I'm working on that Bermuda High Index. I'm working on a Pacific High Index. I'm actually working on one that's for Siberia as well. Turns out that's important for our weather too. So there's all sorts of stuff still to be discovered again in a different way.
I
Because I'll be
cannot
honest, man, World War II, we discovered so much about weather.
that is a discussion for the next time you and I are talking.
Sure.
I definitely want to have that. And I
Yeah,
cannot wait to see those tools with the Bermuda High,
yeah,
Pacific High, and of course the stuff in Siberia.
yeah.
As if
We're
we're
gonna
not
come out.
influenced enough with world markets, we have world weather.
That's right.
Everybody, Eric, where can people find you? You're on Twitter, you're on obviously the AgWX website as
Yeah.
well.
Yep. So Twitter, my handle is my last name, which is Snodgrass without the A. So it's Snodgurse. Had someone ask, it's like, is it because you didn't want ASS at the end? I'm like, no, 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 no. When I was a professor at University of Illinois, they had to get all of our IDs, like you have your ID, they had to get them down to 8 characters. My last name had 9. So the university system just pulled out the A and I became Snodgurse. And I've just like, I've adopted it. It's like, it's just how it is. And so, yeah, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at Snodgurse, so no A. Also, my Gmail is snodgurse at Gmail. But then the Ag Weather website is also a great place to get in contact with me if there's something I can help with.
Obviously, as the beta programs that you're developing, if anybody has some ideas, yeah. I'm just
Yeah,
thinking of some of my own mind that I'm going to have to run by
send them
you.
to me, man. I'll
Yes.
build them. We'll get them built and surfaced. It's great. Nutrients kind of given me a green light that if there's something that the field wants, and the
Hmm,
field are customer growers, there are people that work for us. If they want it, go build it and get it out to them because we're trying to help them manage risk to execute better decisions, more timely decisions. And since most of the year weather is that big decision, man,
huge,
we're trying to make it.
huge. And then, of course, you do not necessarily every day, but how many days a week now are you doing your
Yeah,
forecast?
we do 5 days a week, but I alternate with my colleague Matt Reardon. He does Tuesday, Thursday. I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We just have a YouTube channel. You can actually watch those videos. They're out every morning about 7 to 7:15 on YouTube. We start early. We start about 4:45, but it takes a long time to get those made and surfaced. So anyway, you can find them on the Ag Weather website. There's a video tab. You can go watch them there. It just embeds my YouTube channel. But the YouTube channel is through Nutrient Ag Solutions. So if you just go to YouTube and search Nutrient Ag Solutions, it's the top hit. It's a real easy way to subscribe to it. And I'll be honest with you, Josh, it's long form. I spend 20, 30 minutes every morning going through stuff. We find that people kind of like to be on the journey rather than just like get the highlights. They're like, show me what's going on. And it's something we work on.
You provide an awesome service and value for all of us out here, Eric. We very much we appreciate it. And of course, thanks for taking the time today to be with me.
Yeah, you bet, man. And I'll tell you real quick though, the $80 charge. So why are we charging $80 for all those tools? I've been paying for all that data for the last 10 years, and I got a little girl that's going to go to college next year, and the website cost me about $20,000 a year to run. And I'm like, hey, I need a little help getting some of this money back.
No, I
So
mean, that's, you know, I will tell you this much. That is the, we spend $80 on a lot of different things. I would say you get more bang for your buck with that for the website and all the tools that you have developed and are going to be developing. I mean, just the little run through that we did today. I
yeah,
encourage everybody to subscribe to that. I mean, my
I
goodness, guys.
appreciate it. Really appreciate it. We want to keep advertising off the site, so that's what we do. So it
There we
comes in.
go, guys.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. So
Yep. All right, man. Thanks a lot, Josh. This was a lot of fun, and hopefully, the folks that stuck around with us for the last 45 minutes, they've got or more than that, maybe but hopefully they've got a good dose of what we're thinking about.
no, you provide so much value to us, and we really appreciate it.
You bet, man. It was good talking to you.
Always, Eric. Thanks. All right, everybody. This is Josh Mancy with the Corn Belt Newsletter Podcast, and we'll see you next time.